Excuse me. We're going to start the meeting. Everybody have a seat, please. Welcome to the first forum of the April 7th election coming up in the village. You came out on this tough weather, and we appreciate that very much for showing up. Just want to make a couple of comments, and then we'll turn it over to the league. But my name is Jack Donahue, and I'm the chairman of the Non-Partisan League. For those of you, I think most of you here are members. Thank you. And then there are a few that may not be members, but I just wanted to say that the Non-Partisan League Committee in Park Forest was established almost 60 years ago, 1955. And the Non-Partisan League is a nonprofit volunteer organization. And it was established in Park Forest almost 60 years ago for two reasons. Our goals were twofold. First of all, to give everybody in the village the opportunity to run for public office at little expense, regardless of race, color, creed, sex, political party, and it's been nonpartisan ever since. And the second goal of the Nonpartisan Committee is to ensure that the residents of the village of Park Forest have the opportunity to attend public meetings, meet their candidates for public office, ask questions, and hear what they have to say. So this is our first forum this year, the Nonpartisan League's first forum this year, sponsored by the League of Women Voters. We have one on February the 8th, sponsored by the National Congress of Black Women, and on March 22nd, sponsored by Area E Co-op. And what I'd like to do just for a minute is introduce some of our board members. Just raise your hand, board member. There's Kathy Busto, are you here? Right? Kathy is our secretary. We have Marlon Kennedy is our treasurer. Marlon, where are you? We have Al Sturgis. I think everybody knows Al. And we have Joe Carroll. Joe is around. Where's Joe? Anyway, that's our board, the nonpartisan board. There's Joe. Okay, Joe, good. And our vice president, Clarence Banks, is in Thailand with his wife, so he's not going to be able to make it. Lastly, what I'd like to do is just say to those that are current members of the Nonpartisan League, hope you've renewed your membership. And if not, please do so. And if you're not a member of the Nonpartisan League, take a look at the sign there. We're pitching for members because we could use some. And we have blue pamphlets in the back of the room. Please take with you. It shows you how to become members and to continue the tradition that's been in Park Forest for almost 60 years. So thanks for your support. And thanks for coming out. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Brown of the League, and we'll take it from there. Mike.
Thanks, Jack. I am Mike Brown, and I am president of the League of Women Voters. And yes, I am a guy because we're a diverse organization. Our diversity is so great that we actually have members with hair. I just want to thank you all for coming and basically go right to the introduction of our moderator. A couple things about our moderator, Barbara Amster. The reason she gets to be our moderator is the league rules require that the moderator of a forum of this nature not have a horse in the race. As a resident of Kankakee, while Barbara cares very much that Park Forest goes on and is a very nice place to visit, she is a visitor. And therefore, as the league, we do not support candidates, and the candidates that are all running all have the same opportunity to work with us. With that, we have a whole lot more rules, and the moderator from Kankakee, Barbara Amster, will start to read them and bring the candidates up.
Actually, I don't have a copy of the rules. But our candidates will make opening statements. There'll be no more than 3 minutes, closing statements no longer than 2 minutes. Whoever gives the first opening statement will give the last closing statement, and we'll go back and forth. Now, I will take, following the statements, the audience will submit questions on these cards. It's been asked, why can't they just come and ask them at the podium? The league does this so I can consolidate similar questions, combine them, weed out personal attacks, although I'm sure we won't have any of those, and, in general, move it along as quickly as possible. So, time is by Mr. Sturgis there, and you'll have the first question, you'll have no more than a 2-minute answer, and we're good to go. Could we have our two candidates come, Mr. Ostenberg, Mr. Brown? All right, we're going to start 40 minutes for our village president position. Then we'll give our two library candidates who are here 5 minutes each, and you can ask questions during that time. So, Mr. Ostenberg has drawn number 1, and he will begin his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Barbara. And thank you to the League of Women Voters and to the Non-Partisan Committee for sponsoring this forum. I appreciate the fact that you give us the opportunity as candidates to talk about some of the important issues that are facing our community. I would direct you, first of all, to the statement that I've made that's in the pamphlet that the Non-Partisan Committee has prepared. Because, in essence, I think it states the real reason why I'm running for re-election and why I'm asking folks in the Village Park Forest to support me. Over the course of the time that I've been in government in Park Forest, I've served in a variety of different roles. I served this community for 7 years as a trustee, for 2 years as a state representative, and now I've been the mayor or village president of the community for 16 years. During that time, I've had the opportunity to make a lot of contacts, not only at the local level, but at the state and national levels that have produced great return for our community. You know, we have an excellent staff in the Village of Park Forest, but a lot of places have good staff. The fact of the matter is the bureaucracy that dictates whether you get federal funding or state funding or whether you qualify for private grants, that's a pretty elaborate bureaucracy, and somebody needs to be able to break through that to help when we're out there seeking grants and things of that sort. And in the Village of Park Forest, we've been immensely successful in obtaining grants. And that's a good thing, because if you've been following the newspapers, you know that there are communities in our immediate area that, as a result of the economic downturn, they're suffering pretty severely. You know, but the Village of Park Forest is not looking at any need to cut our public safety staff. You know, we function as a board in a way that promotes good government. We're not like some communities that can go until midnight at their meetings and still not pass one issue. We know how to work together. You know, we have a cohesive unit that is very important for the well-being of our community. And I think, you know, I contribute to that. I think I have over the course of the last several years. So with all of the things that are happening in our entire region, in the South Suburban region in particular, at this particular juncture, I believe that the stability that we have in our community is crucial. It's not just important for our own community, but it's important for our entire region. And I think that's one of the reasons, the role that I have played over the course of the last several years is one of the reasons why my colleagues within the South Suburban Mayors and Managers, within the Illinois Municipal League, within the National League of Cities, have selected me to serve on so many various boards and things for that kind of input. And what I gain as a result of serving on those boards is I learn where the opportunities are for our community, where it is that we can go to look for outside funding, where it is that we can go to look for the kinds of technical support that we've received from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency on Planning, or the Metropolitan Planning Council, or the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. These are crucial groups that have given support to our community as we've worked through some significant problems and issues. And so I would like to be able to continue that role for 4 more years. I think that the expertise that I have and the experience that I have is thanks to the voters of Park Forest. Now, being able to use that expertise and experience on your behalf is what I would like to continue to do. Thank you.
And would everybody please take a moment and check your cell phones? I know we all think they're off. But just in case, there was some pinging. So, I'm good. All right, we'll now hear from Mr. Brown. 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Park Forest. First and foremost, I'd like to give praises to my Lord and Savior. I want to salute the Nonpartisan group for this forum and for existing for the last 60 years. I would also like to salute the League of Women Voters for this forum and being a host. I want to thank the audience participants, the TV viewers, the citizens of Park Forest, my friends, and last but not least, my family. My name is Jerome Brown, and I am thrilled to represent Park Forest and the people who live within. I am a highly visible citizen of Park Forest as well as an elected official. My past civic services have been with the booster parents of Rich East, the Rotary Club of Park Forest, and currently I do civic services with the Kiwanis Club of Park Forest, as well as the Sons of the Legion of Park Forest. My professional career is a full spectrum, which includes banking, insurance, business consultant, general manager for restaurants and clubs, a public speaker, a youth advocate, and a job developer. Starting with the first part of that, my career has been highlighted by Fortune 500 companies as far as Citibank, United Insurance, Smith Barney, and on the other side of that spectrum, you have the Community Assistance Program and the Youth Advocate Program, which both are nonprofit organizations. My friends and associates are movers and shakers of being entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and elected officials. I will continue to grow relationships that are established with the village and, moreover, connect and bring new relationships that will grow with the village. As a job developer, I provide employment training and job placement services. We have a proven successful techniques in working with prospective employees to address the working force need. My platform is obvious. Focus on which have a focus on safety, property taxes, infrastructure, including the water, updating ordinances, attracting businesses, diversity, and visibility. We can complete this mission together. There's an old African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. I know that we can complete this mission together. My question is, who is the village? And then I would say, we are done. Thank you.
All right, we have a lot of questions already. I'm going to ask the candidates, if you don't need the whole 2 minutes, don't take it, so we can answer the maximum number of questions. Both of you, this will be quick, have you signed the Fair Campaign Practices letter?
In less than 2 minutes, yes.
Yes.
All right, that was good. Are you, the first question we got, are you physically healthy enough to be an elected village official? Are you healthy enough, mentally and physically?
Well, I'll be happy to answer that. According to my physician, I am. So I do have regular checkups. And I suffer from some illnesses that are pretty standard at my age, like diabetes, which I take medication for. But in terms of my overall physical health, God willing, I will continue to be healthy.
And Mr. Brown?
I'm perfectly healthy. No medication. Take absolutely no medication. I work out. I recently just started back working. I work out at the gym downtown Park Forest. When I'm away from home, I have a membership where I work out no matter what city or state that I'm in, and I break dance. No, I'm just joking.
All right. Those are the only really personal questions I think I'm going to put through. What idea, and let's ask Mr. Brown first, what ideas do you have to keep the new store we have on Orchard Street?
Great question. I'm glad that was asked. First of all, Country Squire have a history. They're not just a mom and pop shop that open. They have 5 chains that range now far south as Park Forest and far northwest as Wisconsin. I had some input before the store got here, which was my influence of telling them what type of store that we were looking for. The great thing about Country Squire, they did not take the whole entire store that is there. They took part of it. So that's telling you that they know their business. And then some people have came and said some prices are a little bit on the high side. Some say they're compatible with other stores. They knew that. They're not trying to put Ultra or Food for Less or Aldi's out of business. They're here for us as a convenience. And what I did in my company support, being a job developer, we've hired about 25% of their labor, and we pay their salary for 30 days. And what that does is help unemployed people go back into the workforce. And on the other side, it helps the owner with their overhead. So it should be a smooth transition. We're getting them the right quality people. For instance, if one of our people do not work, we pull them from that location and we'll replace it with someone else while it's still on our tab. And I think that I'm the only person that's in the village that's doing that right now. Thank you.
Mr. Ostenberg, the store on Orchard, what will you do?
Well, I don't think it's any secret among people in the Village of Park Forest that I was not real happy with the previous store owner that came in. And actually, that's when the store was cut back to the size that it is now. It wasn't done for Orchard Square. It was done for the previous one that I think was called Fresh Market or something of that sort. And the reason I was not very happy with that, and of course the property is owned by a private developer, and the developer has a right to bring in whomever he or she wishes as an occupant. But the reason I wasn't was because it was undercapitalized. It did not have the experience in groceries. The gentleman who was operating it was a seafood salesman to grocery stores, but had never run a grocery store. And so, I was very, very hesitant to see the village get too deeply involved in that enterprise. By contrast, when the store went dark again and we were looking for a grocer, the work that was done to find the current grocer was extensive, and there was a heavy amount of research that was done to make sure that that individual brought the expertise and the funding that was necessary. I happen to serve on the Cook County Land Bank Authority with the individual who's the executive director of the entity that provided the funding, and it's a very reputable agency throughout the greater Chicagoland area. So they are assuring that there is adequate capitalization to make sure that there's the items on the shelves, which if any of you remember Orchard Fresh was what we would go in and not see anything on the shelves. So there's a lot of components that are part of it. We gave a sales tax incentive to the grocer. The sales tax incentive actually goes to the developer, but in exchange for that, the developer is giving a certain amount of free rent, several months of free rent to the grocer. Now, what that sales tax agreement does is we're not giving them our money. We're saying based upon how much funds you generate, you get a portion of the sales tax back. and I think that will help progress.
Thank you.
Do we have rebuttals by any chance?
We can have a 1-minute rebuttal if you care to.
Sure. The question was, how will we help keep the new store in business, and how will we, basically provide a convenience store for us? And my opponent was talking about what happened with another store, and that's not going to fix this current problem. It was something else. I'm drawing a blank right now, but that's the situation that we have here. What I want to do today is stick with the issues, and if the people are in this audience asking specific questions about how will we maintain this store, that's what we should focus on. But right now, the other point I wanted to make was the Matanke group is the people who brought Country Squire to this village. It wasn't anything about anybody else or the village board or anyone else that went out. It was the Matanke group that reached out and brought that store here.
You have a minute as well.
Thank you very much, and I'll talk very fast. First of all, Matanke did bring the grocer to the village. The village, however, did an extensive research and background. Several representatives of our staff, Sandra Zellner, who's our Chief Economic Development person, the village manager himself, the chief of Hilde Kingma, who oversees the whole economic development program. They went to Wisconsin, they went to Milwaukee, they saw each one of the stores that the individual operates, and they then came to the recommendation to the board that we enter into that sales tax agreement. Had there not been that sales tax agreement, there would not be a Country Squire in Park Forest right now. So the village played a crucial role. Secondly, I believe that the way we're going to make sure that store is in fact successful is to make sure they have enough stuff on the shelves when we go in and shop. And I've been over there several times over the course of just the last several weeks. I've seen a lot of our fellow citizens there, and they're happy that there is adequate stuff on the shelves. That comes from being adequately capitalized.
All right. We appreciate that complete rebuttal on both your sides. Mr. Ostenberg,
Yes.
And then of course Mr. Brown, what will you do to make certain our police will be adequately trained for community policing and nonviolent crisis intervention?
Well, we have a pretty extensive program that has been underway for the last several years that relate to community policing and to nonviolent intervention. I mean, this is not something that is just popping up on the Park Forest radar now because of some of the incidents that have happened around the country. Community policing is critical. What community policing involves is having individuals who, in fact, have specific areas that they are responsible for. Under Police Chief Cliff Butts, who is retiring at the end of this month, but under his supervision, we have reassigned officers. Every officer in the Village of Park Forest has a very specific neighborhood that he or she is responsible for. And actually, I've had some residents call me and say, I saw police officers walking down my street. Is there a problem in my neighborhood? And I've told them it's because we now have in place a community policing program where those officers actually get to know the areas that they're covering. Also, when we had the neighborhood meetings, neighborhood watch meetings, things of that sort, the officer who's supervising that neighborhood, he or she is at that neighborhood watch meeting. And I know some of the people in the audience have been at some of those neighborhood watch meetings. They know the police officer that's responsible for that specific territory. So, we want to continue that. We want to, as aggressively as possible, make sure that our officers get the full complement of training that is necessary, and so far we've been successful in doing that. It's not an inexpensive process, but it's much more important to invest that money in making sure that your officers are properly trained than to pick up the pieces after the fact when something goes wrong.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. There's a couple things on how I would deal with that. First of all, as far as our police department, I think we have a group of great men and women that serve us, and I'm totally impressed. All of the officers that I have met, I think they're outstanding people, personal and professional-wise. Now, there's an old saying that in time of peace, prepare for war. So I don't want to get to the situation where we have problems with our police officers and then try to correct them. I would say let's go with preventive measures. And how will we do that? My opponent once again mentioned community policing. I brought this up 4 years ago. Not only do I believe in community policing, but I think we should go a step further. And when it comes time to renegotiate the police contracts, I think that we should have a resident requirement. And if you have a resident requiring that the police officer live in the village, you're really talking about community policing at that time. If you have a person that live on your block, I believe that you wouldn't have a lot of kids hanging out, breaking in, and things of that nature. So I'm not forcing anyone that's on the force to give up their homes. I know what mortgages look like, but we could give them incentives, saying that if, first we'll godfather that group in, and if they're interested in moving in Park Forest, then we could give them an incentive to move here where they work. Then we'll be receiving those tax dollars. We'll also fill some of the vacant homes that are surrounding this area, which we have a great deal of it. We've lost over a third of our population at this time. Traditionally, Park Forest is about 30,000 strong. Now we're about 21,000 and some change. So to fill the homes and to get some more tax dollars, I would say we should have a police requirement here.
Thank you.
All right, respond to that, please.
Yes, but we have so many questions from so many people that it will shut some of those out.
Okay.
But
All right, you're the moderator.
no, it's your choice. You have a minute if you
Well,
want.
I would just like to say a couple of things. One is that the population of the Village of Park Forest was lost before 1990, not after 1990. The census figures that forced us to go out for referendum, for example, to be a home rule community, came about as a result of the 1990 census, and we were at right about 22,000 people. We are still at about 22,000 people. Now, that's not to say that we haven't had some problems with problem housing. We have had, and we are addressing those through a number of different techniques and approaches, some of which have resulted in 70 homes being torn down because they were in such horrible condition and were a detriment to the neighborhoods where they were located. But the population decline is not since, well, it hasn't been since 1990. It was prior to 1990. The other thing I want to say just real quickly in terms of negotiating for residency, when we negotiate with our police officers or our fire officers, who are the only ones in the village who are unionized, we negotiate with the kinds of things that we think are most important for the well-being of the community. Some of those are fiscal matters. Some of them are activities involving behavior, et cetera.
Thank you. Sorry to cut you off. Yes.
Real quick, real quick about the population having changed. If anyone drive by a downtown area where the houses were built, at one time more than half of them was vacant. If you go to Eastgate, it looked like an abandoned town. The co-ops are the same. I have friends in the co-ops that I visit, and you have a lot of vacancies that's now in the co-ops. So we are losing our community one by one. If it's not, when you're saying that you sit at a table for negotiation, if you don't think that filling these vacant homes and have occupancy and tax dollars being paid and keeping that money in this village, if that's not important, I don't know what is.
Okay, I have a question for Mr. Ostenberg only, and whereas you can comment on it, I also have questions for you only, so perhaps we'll do it that way. Mr. Ostenberg, could you list what the $30 million in grants that you mentioned having obtained for the village were for? And another person is asking about the Richard Dent project.
Okay, sure. In terms of the $30 million, a number of them have been roadway improvements. If you've driven down Orchard Drive, you can see that, or Lakewood Boulevard, or Black Hawk Drive. Those are all major thoroughfares where we had significant improvements. We also have improved our bicycle trails and walk trails as a result of some of the grant money that we've received. Some of those grants have come in the form of actual personnel that have been on hand to do some of the work that otherwise our staff people would have to do. A CMAP grant, for example, gave us a full-time person who worked on housing and sustainability issues. That meant that we did not have to pay a salary to somebody on an interim basis to do that kind of fulfillment. The manager and I were in Washington, D.C. when we found out about a grant that allowed us $1.5 million that allowed us to tear down the old Norwood Square Shopping Center, which was just a condition of blight, and we didn't have the funds to do anything with that, and we got that money from that grant. And also, when we built the new water plant, the $12 million plant, we are saving the taxpayers $5 million on debt service as a result of the low-interest loan that I personally was involved in the negotiation of because of some connections that I had from when I was still in the legislature. So there's a number of projects like that. The village manager, in fact, has just put together a very recent tally, and I believe that that will be published probably in a future edition of the Discover magazine. But it actually goes, at this point, goes beyond $30 million. And then also there was the settlement for the Canadian National Railroad that the village of Park Forest received probably 4 or 5 times as much as our neighboring communities did as a result of the negotiations that we underwent with them. Now, we did some trade-offs with them on that.
Thank you very much.
I definitely need to respond, please.
Okay, 1 minute max.
Okay, 1 minute. I was kind of in and out on that one, but from what I think I gather, I'll try to touch on those. Number one, I heard her say the Richard Dent project. That was promised to us 4 years ago, where we were supposed to employ a couple hundred people. But long story short, I said that project would not exist, and it haven't. The building is still there vacant, and nothing has happened. As far as the streets or the pavements, I'm not an engineer, but I've done research because I'm a trustee and I care about my village, where I came up with this not new thing, but it's a material called white top, which if we had invested in white top, we could have saved the village a minimum on a project that is $237,000. We could have saved the village like $1.5 million. That's only on one project. But I was outvoted. I didn't ask them to do as I asked. All I said is, let's table this and do the research on it. But they did what they wanted to do, and we didn't get that time. And the money that has the other grant money, all I've seen is a lot of buildings being tore down instead of built up. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, in terms of the white topping, that was something that was brought up actually at an Illinois Municipal League conference. I believe Trustee Brown was there and several of the other trustees were also. Our staff has looked at white topping, and the problem we have is that the projects we have been engaged in so far, white topping is not something that could be reasonably done. In the long run, as we have new projects that are undertaken that are of a different nature, we will be able to use white topping. And there's been a report to the board that staff gave on how it could be best applied in places where it does add to the benefit of the roadway and places where it does not. So we have no desire not to use white topping. We just want to carry it out in the proper way. Regarding the Richard Dent situation, you know, the problem was Mr. Dent was not able to get the federal funding that he needed for his project. That had nothing to do with the village of Park Forest. We worked with him. He was very pleased. He came out. He actually was at several events where, you know, he with some of our school children, things of that sort, you know, but he simply couldn't get the funding from the federal government to do the project. And that had nothing to do with the village of Park Forest.
Thank you. All right, and this one is for Mr. Brown. And I'm combining a lot of questions. What is your vision for Park Forest specifically? How do you plan to continue positive progress in these times of economic struggles? And in particular, what would you bring to the role of mayor that John Ostenberg does not?
Another great question. It's a few things. One, every time the conversation come up about building Park Forest, they focus on the downtown area. And they basically say that it's like on the unbeaten road where no one knows where the downtown area is, so we don't have that traffic. Well, Park Forest is the mecca of malls, if anyone understand that. We are the mecca of malls. And that area was not picked up and taken away. So people know where downtown Park Forest is. We just have to focus and bear down and get the right businesses in town. But let's just give for granted that downtown was hidden and no one knew how to get there. We still have these little small streets called Lincoln Highway and another small street called Western. Those are not being developed. In one election, they were reopening Norwood Plaza. Well, Norwood Plaza is no longer. I said once again 4 years ago with Food for Less, we should have fought tooth and nail to have Food for Less on Lincoln Highway. Is that a good location? Do everybody know where that is? And then it's right next to the metro station. You're talking about convenience. And the people could actually go out of their backyard and go there. I'm also putting skin in the game myself. I'm looking at putting a facility for our kids. I have a 5-year-old son. Most people know that. Whenever we do something for him, we have to go to Odyssey Farm World, which is a lot of miles away, going west, or we have to go far east. And then you have Chuck E. Cheese, which I don't care for. But I know there's a lot of kids, because my son is also part of Biddy Ball. So it's a lot of kids that have birthday parties and celebrations, and we have to drive way out of our way so our kids can enjoy birthday parties and celebrations. We need to have something like here. Hey, put it next to the grocery store. The parents will see that. So that's something that I'm looking at doing myself, financing that myself. I'm talking my partnerships now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ostenberg.
Yes, I think there's a couple of things that we just need to face some realities on. I was not involved in the village back in 1949 when the decision was made that there would be residences on Lincoln Highway. There is virtually no applicable space on Lincoln Highway other than the area that we now have as our transit-oriented development that we've been working on, where at one time there was an automobile dealership, and Henrices was there years ago. There were a number of different businesses that were not successful. That is our transit-oriented development site that we're working in concert with Olympia Fields and Madison and Park Forest. Park Forest is the lead agency on that. We received a grant from Metra to develop that site, and that's virtually the only commercial property that we have on Lincoln Highway. On Sauk Trail, unfortunately, it's the same thing. If you drive through Richton Park or you go to South Chicago Heights, you see that there's a lot of commercial property that are on Sauk Trail. In Park Forest, a considerable amount of our Sauk Trail property is residential. That makes it difficult. Now, it doesn't mean that it's impossible, because we have been able to keep the video store in place, the one location, the Taco Bell, the Subway sandwich shop, 7-Eleven. Those have continued to prosper and remain in place. But there's not a whole lot of available commercial space. Same thing is true on Western Avenue. Now, those were zoning activities that took place years ago that we really didn't have a lot of involvement in making that pattern or design. What we have been trying to do is subsequent to that, through the work of the Plan Commission, there has been a land use study that has been professionally done that will look at, as properties become available, how the village can help to convert some of those properties from being residential to commercial. That involves an extensive zoning problem that residents of the area have to give testimony, things of that sort, but we are working on that.
Thank you. We're going to take one more question and then go into closing statements. I have shown both candidates the cards that we did not ask in case they want to address any of those issues in their closing statements. And you went first, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
All right. So you'll go first on this question, and you will begin with closing statements. For both candidates, will you promote hiring and promotion of minorities in city jobs? And also, will you promote more minority hiring in the police and fire departments?
Well, yes, that certainly is that without question. That's one of the goals that the Village Park Force has. You know, when I became mayor, one of the first things that I did was looked for some people to serve on the Police and Fire Commission who could bring balance to the commission. One of those was Maddie Allen, an African-American woman, who in fact was involved in the civil service activities for a number of years and had great expertise in that area. The other one was Ida Calloway, an African-American woman who was involved in the labor movement. And Ida and Maddie were two of the key players on the Police and Fire Commission over the course of the last several years. And very specifically, our goal has been to obtain the services of more minorities in our police ranks. It becomes very difficult, however, because there's a lot of competition for more minorities in police departments all over. And depending upon the department and how many vacancies occur and things of that sort, filling them is a very it's a very complex issue. The Police and Fire Commission reviews all of the candidates. As a matter of fact, right now we are soliciting candidates to come in and get applications, and it may be a boost for us just by circumstance that there are some cutbacks happening in other communities because we have some well-trained police officers and firefighters who are minorities who are looking at applications for our village because they may lose a job in another village. So that may work to our benefit. But we are committed to the notion of trying to fill as many vacancies as we can. One of the ironies is that with Chief Butts retiring this month, the person who would have become chief would have been an African-American male who had been in our department. He left to become chief in another department. You know, that was some years ago that he did that. So we lost his talent. But he would have been the next chief of police because the rotation is pretty much established based upon, you know, how people perform.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Could you ask the question again before we
I
start?
certainly will. Will you promote hiring and promotion of minorities in city jobs, especially in the police and fire departments?
Okay, because I was confused, because it's not about commissions or what happened in the past. Absolutely, I will promote minority hiring. And for the only reason is not to take anyone out of a job. Please believe that. I believe that the government and a town should reflect the community itself. And once again, I brought this up 4 years ago. Our police department, I think, and I have to check my numbers, but I think that we have 55 police and 4 minorities, which none have rank. And when I brought that up last time, we would start saying people over community watches and things of that nature which do not have rank. And we have around 70% population that are African American, but when it comes to the jobs in Park Forest that's ran by the village, it's 69% that is not African American. So all I'm saying is I believe in inclusion. I'm not trying to take any jobs for anyone, but I do not want this to turn into a Ferguson. Dr. Clark said at the Lewis versus the Board of Education for desegregation, Dr. Clark did a study with some dowels, and they had dowels, a white dowel and a black dowel, and these African-American kids would pick the black dowel as ugly, dumb, and so forth and so on. And the white dowel, they would show that they was pretty and they wanted to play with them. I don't want our kids to have an inferior complex as they grow older. So when you just see one race that is in power and another race isn't, that is saying something. And I don't want to send the message to my 5-year-old kid or any other kids that's in the village. I want them to understand that they have opportunity and they have chances to be anything or anybody that they want to be.
All right, and we're going into our 3-minute closing state. 3 minutes? 3-minute closing statements. And both candidates have seen the cards that we did not ask. And Mr. Brown, you're first.
Okay, once again, I'd love to thank you all for coming out and hearing not only my views, but my opponent views. I think everyone collectively want the right representation, and we do have a few problems here. I love Park Forest more than any other town. But do we turn our head to situations that we have? And I say no. The number one thing now that we're talking about is inclusion. I think that that's an important thing that our village should be, that should spearhead. I was also a part of a lawsuit from Chicago, which is Lewis versus the city of Chicago for discrimination for the fire department. And with the numbers that we have on our fire department and our police department, we cannot afford that type of lawsuit. Chicago was out a couple $100 million for discrimination, and this wasn't that long ago. We just won a lawsuit 3 years ago, I would like to say. And from that point, I just do not want to get Park Forest in that arena of saying that we are discriminating. The numbers would show, if you just look at the numbers that we have, it would probably show that. And the focus is getting our people to come together as one, and all of the division that we have in Park Forest as far as co-ops against property owners and Will County versus Cook County and minorities versus non-minorities. We should work collectively together. This was a town that was a planned community. I say let's continue to keep planning and not allow something to come in hit us from the side and we don't see it coming. Let's not act as if we have no problems and take care of business as usual. We have to get back to the basics from the founders of this town and say, let's plan this community the way it should be. I think Park Forest have had some bumps or stumbles. Stumbles prevent falls. Let's make this better than this village has ever been, and that's what I'm here to do. I've been trying to fight for this community in all capacities, as a youth advocate, as a person who brings businesses into communities, a person who hire people, and a person who just counsel people overall. I have a wealth of talents that I'm willing to share, and I have shared with people. And basically, that's all I have to say, and I'd like to thank you all again for coming out.
And thank you, Trustee Jerome Brown. Mr. Ostenberg.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here today. It's really nice to see so many people coming out in this kind of weather. I'm kind of amazed, and hopefully there are a lot of people watching at home also. You know, Park Forest is truly a unique community. Many of the things that we've had the advantage of experiencing over the years are things that other communities just wish for. And you know, it's not an easy task to keep a community of 22,000 that doesn't have a lot of commercial activity, that just simply is not designed for a lot of commercial activity, to keep it from suffering the ills that some of our neighboring communities do suffer. You know, and that's our task. Our task as elected officials is to serve your needs and to try to make a priority of what are the highest things, what are the things that need to be addressed most importantly in the various orders. And when we prepare the budget each year for the Village of Park Forest, it's a totally open process. Any citizen can come and sit in those sessions, and it's not done at one meeting. It's done over the course of several meetings where, you know, we go through department by department by department to make sure that we try to use the dollars that we have in the best manner possible for the well-being of our citizens. And as I look to the future, and I've enumerated some of these in my statement, there are some areas that we have to be really particularly attentive to. One is the situation involving our water mains. You know, we have 70 miles of water mains in the Village of Park Forest. It costs us $1 million a mile to replace those water mains. And we are having breaks, believe it or not. 1 week last week, just this past week, we had 7 water main breaks in 1 week. We have to address that. That's part of the reason why your water rates are higher, because we have to accumulate that money. But what we are doing that we should have been doing, you know, in the 1980s and the 1970s, what we are doing is putting money aside that can be used only for replacement of those water mains. And so on a basis of identifying where the greatest problems are, we're slowly working through the village. I believe it's important for us to work with our local school districts on job creation for the young people who are in our community. I've been working very closely with Rich East High School. There's a new program that's being put in place at Rich East. The equipment is in place. place for pre-manufacturing training for young people, because manufacturing is coming back to the United States, but it's not the old smokestack industries, that we knew about 20 years ago. It's high-tech manufacturing, and kids have to be prepared for that if they're going to get those jobs. But guess what? The principal at Rich East has told me that with just 2 certificates under this program, he has been told by local employers that his kids can get a $40,000 job right upon graduation. That's the kind of thing that we can do in the village of Park Forest, and we've been working very closely to do it. We got a $50,000 grant to create a maker's lab, which we now have in Park Forest, working with OAI. OAI is a job training component that decided to locate their offices in Park Forest. They're on the 2nd floor of the downtown. The maker's lab gives the opportunity for creative people to be able to come up with ideas and put them into production. I could talk forever. Thanks.
President John Ostenberg.
Thank you, Barbara.
John.
Good job. Thank you, Jerome.
Would the 2 candidates for library board please come up? That's Felicia Rangel and Eric Rodman. Are you satisfied about our impartiality?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. The purpose of this is not to silence.
Get this beautiful lady in here with me.
Daddy, where do you sit?
It's not to slant things. Did you want to keep these two?
Okay, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, no. I love this.
They gotta come up. They gotta come up.
Yay. Oh, yeah.
Dash, get that.
Some cookies and water, and come sit down as quickly as possible. We are out of here at 3, and I don't want to take anything from our trustee
Okay.
panel. So if you really
Mommy,
have a question for the
is
library
Daddy.
candidates
Hi,
who are
Mommy.
running unopposed,
I'm
you
trustee.
can ask it. But we would like the time for the trustee meeting. All right. Choose.
Ladies first. Choose one. We got to answer a question.
All right, we're going to hear from Felicia Rangel first, and then from Eric Rodman.
This is for Jerome Brown. Two.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicia Rangel, and I'm running for Library Board Trustee. I just want to thank the Non-Partisan Committee for organizing, and the League of Women's Voters for sponsoring. I have been a resident of Park Forest for over 30 plus years, and the reason I'm running for Library Board Trustee is that I love my library, always have. My statement will probably be brief. The library has given me so much over the time that I have been here that I can't see me not continuing on the traditions and the growth of the library. And so by doing that, I really want to serve our library. And so that's primarily the reason that I'm running. I've had the pleasure of being a trustee back in 2011. I ran. Unfortunately, I did lose. And unfortunately, there was a vacancy again, and I was appointed again. And so I would like to continue on that path of serving you and the residents of Olympia Field, since that's who we also serve as well. And I have really not much to add is that I hope that you vote for me and that I can maintain serving you as your library board trustee.
Thank you, Felicia Rangel. Is it Rangel or Rangel?
Either one.
Either one. Mr. Rodman.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Rodman, and I thank you all for coming out today. I, too, am an appointee to the library board. I ran last year, well, the other year. I've been a resident with my family 42 years. I'm a homeowner now, product of Park Forest, and like my constituent said, I've seen Park Forest, and the library's been a part of my life since the 70s. And I've seen it grow and change, and my love of books came from my family, but it also came from my having a wild imagination and being an only child so I could escape. And it still continues, and I like seeing the young people working there and to know them. And the helpfulness of it is a community hub, you know, and I think that's the most important thing when the seniors in there or the areas where the little children, and now with the new teen area coming up, it's a place to meet. In the summer, it's the Aqua Center, but the library is forever. So I would like your vote. Coming up in the election, we are running unopposed, but still, if you have any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Eric Rodman. Does anyone here have any questions for either trustee? All right, then we thank you very much for coming. We do have. What additional changes would you like to see at the Park Forest Library?
Actually, one of the things that I would like to see us reinstitute was an old tradition, and it kind of came up at our last board meeting as having the library book sale again. I believe that was a very popular draw to our community, and it gives us a case to showcase our community. So I would like to see that. The things that we're doing now are wonderful because we're trying to maintain the balance of tradition that people know as their library, but also showing growth into the 21st century as far as being a service-oriented institution. So immediately, I would like to bring back the library book sale.
Thank you. Mr. Rodman?
Yes, I was at the same meeting in the library book sale, but I'd also like to get more of our seniors involved with the Friends of the Park Forest Library that ran the book sales when I was a child. I know now from going to meetings that we don't have the same space for storage, but with 3 senior citizen living areas, there's got to be a way to incorporate them to have more of a balance in the library. And it's good for the younger people to see seniors, not only for their well-being, they'll act better, but to know them and get to talk to them. Because you got to know your past so you don't repeat. So yeah, that was at the meeting, the library book sales, but also to bring back the Friends of the library. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Could we now please have the 5 candidates for village trustee? May Brandon, Tiffany Graham, Gary Kopachinski, Georgia O'Neill, and Jonathan Vanderbilt. I don't come across as rude for cutting people off.
No, you're fine.
I'm not acting rude to the candidates, am I? By cutting them off like that?
Not for that reason.
Jonathan's going to be here.
I need to move over.
I just stuck it back there so it would be out of the way. What a pretty scarf. We're drawing for speaking order. So, this is for original speaking order. Oh. I'd like to remind everyone that the election is on April 7th. Gentlemen, pick a number. Are we missing a candidate? All right.
Back.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Who's coming?
So, all right, who has number one?
I do.
All righty. That would be
Tiffany
Tiffany
Graham.
Graham is one. Two is John. Three,
Kopachinski.
okay, Gary. Four would be May. Perhaps we should make her five? Okay, she'll be our fourth candidate, and you will be number five. And that will be the speaking order for 3-minute opening statements. Now, we have the same format, but again, we're out of here at 3, so let's budget our time as wisely as we can. We'll begin with Tiffany Graham's 3-minute opening statement.
First, I'd like to welcome everybody who came out today and in this horrible weather, and as well as the residents that are watching on television. And I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and the Non-Partisan Committee for making this all possible. My name is Tiffany Graham, and I'm running for trustee because I can bring a much-needed infusion of youth and energy to the board. I have lived in Park Forest for more than 30 years, and I believe that all children should have the opportunity to grow up in a safe community as I did. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and I am a firm believer in that phrase because I feel I was raised by a village, not only by my parents. I was raised by the village of Park Forest. I'm deeply invested in the community already. As a member of the Park Forest Youth Commission, I was part of a dynamic team that brought back the Park Forest Carnival. This endeavor brought in over $19,000 back to our community, of which we decided to create two new scholarships, partner and promote Teen Zone, as well as various other youth-oriented activities. From 2012 to 2014, I served as the youngest president in Park Forest Rotary history. During this time, we raised money for the restoration of the wetlands observation deck in Central Park and distributed over 3,000 dictionaries to our third graders in Park Forest as well as the surrounding communities. I'm also happy to say that I am a member of the Park Forest Sustainability Committee, the Board of Directors for the League of Women Voters of Park Forest, as well as the Tallgrass Arts Association. I would like the opportunity to serve the community that has given so much to me by utilizing the leadership skills that I've obtained being a part of various organizations in this community. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Graham, could we hear from Mr. Vanderbilt?
How you doing? I'm Jonathan Vanderbilt. I'm a fourth-generation Park Forest resident, and I'm proud to say I just started my fifth-generation Park Forest resident, Lucas Vanderbilt. Thank you. But Park Forest is a great place to grow. Once again, my wife and I grew up in the village. I graduated from Rich East. She graduated from Crete-Monee, respectively. I attended Millikan University. I got a bachelor's degree in history and a minor in political science. I was attending Purdue University there for a while to get my master's. I put that on hold for obvious reasons. I have 30 years experience as a lifelong resident of Park Forest. As a child, as a young man, and now as a married man. I've lived in single-family homes, I've had a rental unit, and I now live in the co-ops. This life experience alone makes me uniquely qualified as anyone else here to run as a village trustee. Park Forest has a great tradition of having residents volunteer to serve in various commissions and committees. I volunteered on the Recreation and Parks Committee. I've been on the Mayor Citizen Advisory Council and the Environmental Commission, and I've even helped start the Community Garden Commission. I was able to attend, and where I still attend, Sauk Trail Baptist Temple in Richmond Park, Illinois, and serve in various outreach communities, focused primarily on the youth in the Awana Youth Program. Park Forest is a great place, but recent times have been tough and are going to get tougher for the village. Though we've done better than other communities, we still have not stood apart to bring others into this village, and people are leaving this village and leaving it quickly. If elected, I will continue to work on solving these issues facing the village, By continuing the village's, I will continue on the village's sustainability plan, improving the tax burden on local residents, primarily our water bills, lowering the crime rate in Park Forest, and encourage civic duty. Please visit johnvanderbilt.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our third speaker will be Mr. Kopachinski.
Thank all of you for showing up here today. Thank you also to the League of Women Voters for hosting today's forum and to our nonpartisan committee for sponsoring this event. I'm Gary Kopachinski, and I'm running for trustee. I've been a teacher at Marian Catholic High School since 1990. I graduated from the University of Notre Dame in 1985, and I earned my master's degree from Josephinum College in Columbus in 1992. I have a son, James, who is 29 years old. I also have a wonderful daughter in La Sierra and a grandson named James Jr., who never seems to sit still. I offer you my experience as a long-serving member of the village board. Park Forest is our community in every sense of the word. Park Forest has always impressed me as a community that is open to many, many different types of people. This is a welcoming community. The diversity, the community spirit, the culture, all speak very highly of our town. Because I'm committed to harmonious relations, I was active on the Human Relations Commission as soon as I moved into town until my election as a village trustee in 2003. Our Park Forest Focus Group, which I have found, does massive voter registration because in a democracy, it's important that all people participate and vote. I want to be your trustee because I want to serve this community even more. I want us to stay on track, continuing to pay down our debt, to grow our economy, build stronger community relations, and continue to tell our story to other communities. Because of my commitment to openness and my commitment to telling the story of Park Forest, in 2006, I founded E-News Park Forest and have been working at that pretty much every day since. It is now a primary news source in the south suburbs, and I'm very proud of that. Toward a vision for the future, I see a vibrant downtown. I see our streets being safer. I see people from other communities coming here to shop. I see inspired church communities drawing together. I see groups and neighbors getting together after dark, not because they're on neighborhood patrol, but because they feel safe, because they can.
Thank you, Mr. Kopachinski.
Thank you.
Ms. Brandon.
Thank you. And I must apologize that I got here a little bit late, but I'm a little slow on my feet these days. Again, I'm May Brandon, and I am currently running for re-election as your village trustee. I've been a longtime resident of almost 50 years, and in essence, you know, if you listen to each one of us, we talk about growing up in this community. I did grow up in this community. While I was not a child, I came here as a very, very young adult, married with a child, and have grown in this community. This community has offered many things. It has provided me and my family. My kids grew up here. It's provided me with a profession that I currently engage in. I'm an occupational therapist, and I work in Chicago Public Schools. But had I not been in this community, that would not have been my profession. It would have been down another line. So through all of the volunteer work, all of the organizations that I've been involved in over all of the years, starting out in schools, service organizations, leadership roles in service organizations as well as in church organizations, and working together to keep our community the type of community that we all love. I'm passionate about Park Forest. Several occasions, we could have moved someplace else, but did we? No, we moved to another house, but we are still here in Park Forest, and I have no intentions of moving from here in Park Forest. I am committed to ensuring that Park Forest faces the challenges that's presented. I am committed to making this place a place that we all are very proud to live in and are welcoming our friends and neighbors and relatives. I am committed to being your trustee, serving you, because together is the way that we're going to make Park Forest a better place. It's not a matter of what I do, it's a matter of what we do. And so I am willing to continue to work with you, listen to your ideas. That's been the way Park Forest has grown. That has been the tradition of Park Forest. And that is a tradition that I believe we really need to carry on to continue to have this place to be the place that you and I are very proud to live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brandon. Ms. O'Neill.
Yes, a very large thank you to the Nonpartisan Committee and the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and also to those who are observing it either here or at home. My name is Georgia O'Neill, and I was appointed in 2006 to finish out another trustee's term, but have successfully been elected to 2 full terms and am now seeking to be elected to a 3rd full term. As a 45-year resident of Park Forest, and I wish I could tell you I moved here as a baby, but that would be a lie. My late husband, Marty, and I raised 3 children in the village. Terry, our oldest, serves as chaplain for the Lamont Police. Kathleen, who lives in Nashville, was just awarded Entrepreneur of the Year. And Johnny still lives he's a lifelong resident of Park Forest and sometimes serves as my assistant. I have an extensive history with Park Forest, having served as executive director for 6 years of the Park Forest Chamber of Commerce, as well as manager of 2 regional chambers that served Park Forest, a total of 22 years of Chamber of Commerce management. As a result of that long and dedicated career, I am tuned in to business needs and will continue to apply my skills and understanding to the village's efforts. I have also served as Director of Public Relations and Marketing for the Center of Park Forest for 3 years. In that position, I was instrumental in engendering support and goodwill for the center among business, government, and community representatives. I will see to it that those relationships that I formed will continue to benefit our community. I'm a member of the Park Forest Historic Society's Hall of Fame, and in 1996, the Park Forest JCs recognized me as Citizen of the Year. As a continuing trustee, I will work hard for you through the ongoing efforts that our village team has made to enhance our blessings and benefits, namely our people, our cultural riches, and our many diverse services and amenities. I will help to preserve those benefits so that Park Forest becomes even more a great place to live, grow, and discover. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill. We will now start with questions from the people assembled. I'm combining 2, and Ms. O'Neill will take the first one, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 after her. And in other words, pretty much, yeah. Okay. What are you doing to help improve our empty housing problem? And we have another question I'm combining with that. We have someone out there who's very concerned about the co-ops being subleased when it's against the lease and Park Forest law.
Well, I'll start off first of all by saying I really don't know enough about the co-op leasing to address that issue, and I hope that will be addressed. As far as empty housing, One of the most exciting things that I've heard recently was that we will be looking into, and some of our mayor and some of our trustees are working on that and looking into that, and I sure would be interested in making some of our housing available to the military, to the returning military. That's how we started, and it just makes so much sense to me. And I love the idea of making and maybe providing some incentives along the way. I think also our economic development team is doing a wonderful job of, I know that Habitat for Humanity has inhabited and rehabited some of the homes and made them available to people that otherwise would not be able to buy that house. I think that the entire economic development team is working constantly to look into ways to make our housing available. And that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you. Ms. Graham, empty housing.
Can I see the cards as well?
Of course.
Thank you. And I would like to start out with addressing the co-op situation as well. I have no idea what the co-op situation is because I'm not on the co-op board. If someone from the co-op board was here, I'm pretty sure that we could have that question answered for you, but I don't have that answer, and I don't want to pretend like I have that answer, and I don't want to just throw something out there for you to think that I don't know what I'm talking about. As far as the empty housing situation is going, I pretty much think that I've seen Habitat for Humanity in the community. There's actually a house down the street from my parents that Habitat for Humanity has been working on, and I just saw recently that the family moved into the house, and I think that that's a good idea for our village to have Habitat for Humanity in our community because these people can work on their house themselves. And what better way to have pride in your home than for you to be a part of making your home.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vanderbilt.
I do live in Area B, and I kind of understand the question, if not some of it, but subleasing. In certain co-ops, you are not allowed to sublease your cooperative. You're not a sublease the share that you have in the cooperative. So in Area B, I am not allowed to sublease anyone into the co-op, and that's for safety, for income purposes, but safety and overall security of the entire property is to not sublease, because you have to go through a process, a pretty good process to get even to be able to purchase in Area B, and that's in other co-ops also. Now there are rental properties in the village, and that's owned by overall groups such as Pangea, and they offer rental properties, and I don't know if you're allowed to sublease there or not, and I'm not sure about other co-ops, but I know in Area B you're not allowed to sublease. Now, to what am I going to do with the empty housing problem? I think we have right now as a grassroots efforts in the village to actually get veterans into housing into Park Forest. There's a woman in Park Forest who's pushing hard right now to get veterans back into Park Forest and empty houses, and she is putting together a committee, should I say, to help that start. Also, one thing I am doing with empty property in general is I help start the community garden project, and that's for anybody who has an empty plot of land next to them or in their community that they want to help make it look better and help attract rather than detract and get rid of people. But another thing I'd really like it to look into with our empty housing problem is to actually look into, and our last election we talked about this, but nothing really happened, but is to start a housing ordinance for village employees who are hired, so police and fire. The reason we were told back then 4 years ago or 2 years ago was because that it was in their contract negotiated So I think we need to re-look at the contracts and maybe talk to them and see if they would be willing to
I'm sorry
buy
to
property.
cut you off, but thank you. Mr. Kopachinski.
Thank you. Regarding subleasing in the co-ops, that is very serious. And as a former board member on Ash Street, I would say that if anybody is aware of subleasing going on, you immediately should contact your leasing office, because there are strict requirements to get into the co-ops, not the least of which is a criminal background check. So if that is going on, if you are aware of a situation like that going on, my recommendation would be to contact the co-op office. What are you doing to help regarding empty housing in Park Forest? This is an issue that we are looking at in a number of different ways. We have a partnership, as has been mentioned, with Habitat for Humanity going back several years. We are working on developing a program to encourage veterans to move in. And I would say, you know, on the cutting edge, we could do more aggressively to work to get the homeless off the streets. There are cities and towns that have successfully developed programs to essentially give a home to a homeless person. There are also cities and towns like London and Beijing that have installed spikes under bridges to keep the homeless out of sight and out of mind. And I would say that this is an issue that we can look at responsibly.
Sorry. I know I appear rude, but we do have a 1-minute rebuttal if you need it. The only thing is it forecloses other questions. Ms. Brandon.
Okay. As I used to be a member living in the co-ops, I think many of us did start out that way, and the co-ops have its own rules. So if that is an issue, then that is something that you need to address with your co-op board. As a village, we do not have control over that, so that is strictly something that you need to address with your co-op board, and I encourage you to do that. In terms of empty houses, it's been previously mentioned we have a long-time partnership with Habitat with Humanity. We also have a couple of other programs that we are very diligently working on. We are part of the South Suburban Land Bank Authority, which it includes several other communities around us, so that we can take a look at houses that really are blight, buy those up, land bank them for future development. We have the Illinois Building Blocks pilot program, which provides assistance and helps people learn how to get what they need to become home ownerships. And as I drive through the community, I'm very proud of some of the investors who have purchased property in our community and who are looking to then sell it back for homeowners. I have seen them put in new windows, new roofing, just really, we're not talking about just surface things, but really rehabbing homes, making them really good for our residents. So there are a lot of different programs that are going on within the village. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't know all about them, but this is really one of our #1 projects that we are doing, is really addressing our homes, and it's important to keep our stock up.
All right. Now, if you need it, we have, in the same order in which we spoke, a 1-minute rebuttal, starting with Georgia O'Neill.
I don't need a rebuttal.
Okay, then we go to Tiffany Graham.
I don't need a rebuttal either.
And Mr. Vanderbilt.
I'd like to start a revitalization program focusing primarily on the housing in Park Forest. I think a lot of houses are not looking great to the eye. So when investors look through and they come to our city, they don't see a lot of properties that are upkept. One of the programs that I would like to start is by using the funding that we receive that is allocated through the general funds by the slot video gaming machine money. I'd like to use that money specifically and earmark it for a revitalization program for homeowners to use on their property, up to maybe $1,000 or $500 to help them start on that project to get their house looking better. Right now, the village receives about $60,000 in video gaming money, and I'd like to earmark that specifically for revitalization of the neighborhoods in Park Forest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you wish 1 minute, Mr. Ostenberg?
Kopachinski, I'm good.
I do that. I'm getting old.
Unless he wants to talk.
I'm getting old, excuse me. Mr. Kopachinski.
I'm good.
Okay, and Ms. Brandon?
I'm good.
All right, then. Our next question, which will go to Ms. Brandon first, is about water resources. We've had a couple of questions about the increased water bill. And also, water resources and quality are a major factor in rebuilding this community. Are you aware of trenchless water line relining? It says a note about fraction of replacement cost. Trenchless water line relining. If you know about that and wish to comment on it, fine, but water quality and water bills in general. Ms. Brandon.
Thank you. This is really a question that comes up all the time, every day practically. Yes, our water rates are high. The quality of our water is good. We are number one when it comes to quality of the water. It is not the water, it is the delivery system. So when the water comes out of the water plant and it's delivered through the mains, our mains are over 60 years old. So that is why for some people, they end up with brown water, water that is not, it's not something that you want to drink when you look at it. And we understand that. That is part of the reason that we've added onto the water bill a certain amount of money that is specifically put aside for us to do water main replacement. It is expensive. A mile costs about $1.2 million, and we have 70-some plus miles of water mains that we need to replace. So it is an ongoing issue that we are addressing. We were able to get some low-interest loans where we are beginning to do more major projects on that, but it's a process, and we are aware of that. You let us know when you have water problems, and that brings that up. We do have a plan that as to how we're going to go about replacing it. But if something comes up that's outside of that plan, then we'll address that. We did have a project this summer where we did do some water lining without, it was over in the Swanee area, I believe, whereby we did water lining opposed to doing trenching out. And, you know, we're not sure yet just where that is.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. O'Neill.
Yes, and I agree about the main problem is the delivery system, and I'm actually very proud of the quality of our water because my family who lives in other places has to bring in bottled water to drink. I can go to my faucet anytime I want and take a drink of water, and it tastes just fine. However, I think another thing to consider in addition to our water main system is also some of the pipes in the houses. And I think some of mine are quite old too and probably need to be replaced. I am somewhat familiar with the relining. It has been brought up in our meetings, but I agree that it's something that, you know, we're still on the fence about. And that's all I have on that.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Graham?
Well, I pretty much can't say anything that hasn't been said by the two trustees that are sitting up here next to me. The only thing that I can say is that I am aware that we do have over 75 miles of piping, and they all need to be replaced. And as you heard, it's $1 million. It's about $1 million a mile. So $75 million, we have to come up with that. And it's not easy to come up with $75 million. I'm not really sure where people do come up with $75 million like that, but it's not here in Park Forest. It's the problem is being worked on. It's not like it's something that, everybody is saying, oh, we have a water problem, but we're just going to ignore it. It's not being ignored. It's a process. It's a process, and we're going through the process right now, and all I can ask everybody to do is be patient. Be patient, and your water will be running clear pretty soon. It's pretty much nothing that you can do besides replace these pipes. And if we're not replacing the pipes, then we can't do anything. And honestly, I'm kind of proud of us for actually getting out there and trying to raise $75 million to get these problems solved for our residents. I mean, the residents want clean running water, right? I mean, we keep winning awards for our water. Our water is one of the best in the community, in the area, but it's just the color.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Okay, Mr. Vanderbilt.
First part of the question, trenchless water lining is where a PVC material is injected into the failed line, and as the material is inserted, it gets inflated and heated. I know the company that comes in and removes the dirt and debris from the village, and he has said this is a very good solution. Right now, it's known to last 10 to 15 years, but they don't know what's going to last because this is a new design, a new way to do this. It would save the village a lot of money, but yet a PVC material sooner or later, I don't know, it's going to give sooner or later. I would assume, but they said so far it's outlasted other materials. Now, to get to the real issue, the water in Park Forest. We have the #1 tasting water in Illinois by the EPA. And yet, when you live in certain parts of the village, all you get is a trickle of brown stuff. All right? And yes, it is because of the break-in pipes. And everyone here is telling you the same thing. All we can do is tax you, the residents. All we can do is tax you because we can't tax the businesses. Who are we going to tax? It's you, the residents. I'm offering a solution. Now, we did look in 2 years ago. It was $1 million a mile. 2 years since, it's now moved to $1.2 million a mile to fix a water main in Park Forest and in the U.S. So we're already up $0.2 million here, okay? We've got to start thinking now. Now, to sell our water to other villages, to create a pipe, that would be a major, major costs to move water to that kind of place. And the only village around us would be Olympia Fields. And right now, they're in a contract. What I want to do is to build and create a sustainable water plant in Park Forest where we can create permanent jobs in this village and we can bottle our water and sell it to other businesses and companies. So I want to create a water plant that we can bottle our own water and sell it and make a profit to us as residents so that we are no longer taxed. And when those businesses finally do show up, 5, 10, 15 years, we are really going to be paying nothing for our water.
Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Kopachinski.
Thank you. First off, it is possible, and we have discussed the possibility of bottling our water. We can't do it as it stands now. There would have to be some other kind of a purification process before the water is put in bottles. But that also entails building, as was mentioned, another plant, hiring more employees, and then hoping that if we build it, they will buy. And we would have to weigh that as a board as to whether that is a viable solution or not. I am familiar with the trenchless, waterless relining, and we did do that at a section of the village, and that's being evaluated by engineers. That relining actually lasts 50 years, so I was told by the company that is doing that. It is, I'm not sure, it is a fraction of what it costs to do a water main replacement, but I think it's a higher fraction than some people might be thinking. We are looking at, on average, $1 million a mile for sewer, water main, and road replacement, and that's our infrastructure. If you have an issue with water at your home, you can email me at frodo@ameritech.net. I think that's my easiest email to remember.
Thank you very much.
Or call. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody who has spoken in the order in which you spoke need a 1-minute rebuttal or addition?
I would like a rebuttal.
Okay, Ms. Brandon, I think in this round you went first, though.
Okay.
Just
really, it's a statement. Mr. Vanderbilt come with the idea of building another plant whereby then we can bottle our water. And I think that is a great idea. We have talked about bottling water and being able to sell it. But I just want to remind you that when we built the water plant that we currently have, that was like $16 million to build that water plant. So if you're talking about building another plant, that was $16 million several years ago, so just imagine what that is now. So while that sounds like one prospect, you also have to consider the cost that would be involved in doing that.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill or Ms. Graham, do you have anything to add?
No.
Mr. Vanderbilt.
Water consumption is at its lowest since 2004. Daily consumption is down since at least 2004. Peak of the daily consumption we use is still half of what was used in 2004 and is at its lowest. As people move out of this village, who's going to get hurt? We, the taxpayers. How are we going to keep people in this village? One of my ideas is to lower our water bills by creating a much, much, much smaller water plant that would only have to be used for a purification system to bottle our water and sell it. If you go to websites called Kentland, Indiana, they actually have a private company that is bottling the municipal water. I'm saying let's take out the middleman and build the plant ourselves. And there are companies that would jump on board immediately to sell local water. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Austin. Mr. Kopczynski, I'm sitting right in front. It's a total senior moment. This is my line of sight.
He made such an impression on you.
There is no relationship. He's right.
I'll try that again.
Do you have a minute worth of?
The only thing I would say is we would have to look long and hard at the cost of building another plant. And I'm not sure that this is a sustainable way of selling water. In the United States, we go through 2 million plastic bottles are thrown out. The stat I saw was every hour or every couple of hours. And I would suspect that a lot of them, the vast majority of them, are not going to recycling plants. So I don't know if a plastic bottle plastic bottled water is a sustainable solution, but I'm willing to consider anything. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody out there really wants to know how many miles have been replaced. Can anyone just answer that with a number? Thank you. The next question.
It's 11 out of 72.
The next question starts with Mr. Kopachinski, and it is, the internet is a powerful tool for education and economic development. What would you do to support this resource and help residents cross the digital divide?
Thank you. That's a question that goes way beyond Park Forest. I would like to see, and I think we are seeing in the schools, the internet being made more affordable for families that cannot afford it. Computers being made more affordable and more accessible to children. As far as the village goes, we have done an incredible amount of work launching our new website over the past year or so. Jason Miller did exceptional work with that. And I think the key to our website is transparency. You can find everything there. You can find village documents, budget documents going back several years. And if you compare our budget to budgets that are online for other communities may give you a spreadsheet. We give a complete narrative and outline on a line-by-line basis where your money, where we're getting money from and where the money is going. And I would say the last bit of secrecy, so to speak, happened, we just gave away a few years ago when another community was dealing with a mayor who was putting a lot of money on credit cards. And our village staff just decided that the only thing that we were receiving up to that point, confidentially, was the weekly payment of checks, etc. That's now available for you to see every week online.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Brendan.
If I may make the question again.
Helping residents cross the divide into being computer literate.
That's what I thought. As a village, yes, we do have, we've done a lot of upgrading. You can see every document there is, you can see on our website. And this program is being watched at home. Our board meetings are marched. But the key is not just what we're doing in the village, is how do we get residents who do not have access to the internet, what is it that we do to help them? I know there were a couple of companies a few years ago, actually I think maybe just last year, who were offering internet services to children whose families could not afford that. That's still only a small blanket of that. So we as a village really need to look at how do we help to provide that access to our general residents so that anyone at home who wants to be able to access, who wants to be able to make a connection with the village, has that opportunity to do that. We are limited with our services in that way. I think we have two primary providers. I won't name them, but they are expensive. So it's, how do we look out and perhaps explore some grants that other companies may have available, but it is something that I think that I'm very much for, is looking at ways that we can help our citizens who are not able to access the internet have a better access for that.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill.
Yes. I agree with everything that's been said, and I think Jason Miller has done a wonderful job, not only of developing our new website, which I hope everyone takes the opportunity to explore, and he's also trying to, with almost every event we have, he's trying to get and garner more email addresses to keep us all in the loop. I also agree that I think our staff has been so wonderful at getting grants. There might be something that's available to provide either computers and or internet services to low-income families and seniors. Another thing we have to make sure that people remember and realize is that the library has that service as well. And our children, our teens, our seniors need to know that they can go to our library to get computer and internet access. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Graham.
Besides working with the internet providers to provide the low-income families with internet access, the only thing that I did not hear until just now was the fact that we do have a library. So if you cannot afford to have a computer at home and you cannot afford to have internet at home, we do provide that. You know, if you go to the library, you can get on the internet with a library card. It's not that hard. Just go and apply for a library card and you'll get internet access. I don't believe that I don't want to say it's not our job to provide everybody with a computer, but I do think that we are providing everybody with a computer. You know, we have computers at our library, and we need people to go to our library and utilize those computers that we have at our libraries. I'll stop there.
All right. Thank you very much. And the last one to answer about making our citizens more computer literate, Mr. Vanderbilt.
Jason Miller has brought and continues to push the village, to total access. All departments have things that you can access online. The village water bill can be paid online, sometimes when it's working right. But something else that's greater than that is you can now access through the Recs and Park Department. You can go on there and you can register for an event, for a class. And, that's a #1 way to get people involved through the internet. Also, the board, through the Cable and Commission Committee, along with Jason Miller, are trying to work on creating a TV show or maybe an access television on Channel 4 to where the board will be running programs through the access television. I think this is another way to get people involved, more over just the internet. That way we could have high school, like Rich East could be running a program on there. There are many other high schools within the area that have their own access programming television show, has their own radio programming. Rich East has none of that. I think these are ways to get the high school and to get young people involved in the community is by using the internet and television. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you. Our candidates have been very understanding about being cut off. We're going into closing statements now only because of time constraints. But you have asked, what new ideas would you bring to the Park Forest Village Board? And do you have any plans or ideas to bring a stronger economic structure here? So I'll ask our candidates to keep those questions in mind as we go into 2-minute closing statements. And we're going to start with Mr. Vanderbilt.
In Park Forest, we've seen a population decrease in the last 15 years. Unemployment rate is still higher than it was 10 years ago. The per capita of Park Forest, per capita income of residents is still lower than it was in 2005. The money just isn't here. What can we then do to bring residents into Park Forest? What can we do to keep people in and to bring more people back? It's not like the old days. We don't have the money flying around like we used to. That's why we have to go for the grants and have done a good job at it. But we can do better. We can do more. We can stand out. And I think by building a water plant and building a much smaller one. So let's not say a full plant, but building a water structure for bottling our water and selling it. I think that's a start. Now, we need to do a feasibility study on this. We should have done a feasibility on this when they came up with the idea 10 years ago or 5 years ago, like they said. We need to start looking into those things now. One thing that I really see a lack of and have seen a lack of since I graduated in 2002 are activities for young adults, for high school people. The median age of Park Forest is rising and will continue to rise. How do we then attract young people into Park Forest? How do we keep young people in? I think we need to redevelop our park system that will bring families back in. We need to look at new activities like disc golf that will bring families in, that will bring young couples in to the village. I think we need to revitalize parks that will help with bringing the children back into the Park Forest that stay at home and are scared to go to their parks. I think we need to change that atmosphere. You know, school enrollment in Park Forest is down and it's the lowest it's been since 2005. What can we do to bring families in? We need to start igniting those ideas. And I think revitalizing our parks is a major one. And there is a plan right now to do that. But I think we need to start looking at ways to bring those families in. You know, I think the League of Women Voters, with their help today and with this, they do a great job every year, and I thank them for that. And I thank for the League of Non-Voters for having us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was candidate
Nonpartisan, thank you.
Jonathan Vanderbilt.
I was getting cut off.
Next, we'll hear from Gary Kopachinski.
Thank you once again to the Nonpartisan Committee for sponsoring this forum and the League of Women Voters of the Park Forest area for hosting us, and all of you for showing up. I really appreciate the quality of your questions, and thank you all for watching at home. During my service as trustee, I have been prepared for weekly board meetings. Seeking additional information from staff members, citizens, and business owners. I attend commission meetings, to which I'm liaison, neighborhood meetings, meet with school boards, citizens groups. I walk door to door. I return phone calls, emails, and maintain open communications, working to find solutions for residents on countless issues. I have a strong relationship with our state officials. I have worked to ensure that our youth have a voice in government and that our seniors maintain theirs. I work for the safety of our streets, pushing for improvements for our police and fire departments in matters of personnel and equipment. I push for economic development, supported our housing developments, and worked to maintain Park Forest as truly all-America, a village which from its inception has welcomed and embraced diversity, our families, and the arts. As a small business owner, I started a community news service, eNews Park Forest only online news. The issues defining this election are taxes, development, village services, and infrastructure. I look forward to serving you once again as a trustee, working with residents to build a stronger Park Forest. Contact me anytime at GaryKopachinski.com. I need your support, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was candidate Gary Kopachinski. Ms. Brandon.
Thank you. Once again, thank you to the Nonpartisan Committee of Park Forest, along with the Park Forest Area League of Women Voters. It's always a great opportunity that you provide for the residents to get to meet us, to get to see who it is that you are looking, who's running. I mean, this is an important process. I'm getting off a little bit here, but it is an important process. Our elections have been really very poorly participated in. If you are adamant about what goes on in your village, if you're adamant about Park Forest being the place that you want to continue to live and to bring your friends and to bring your relatives, then you are responsible to get out and vote. That's your responsibility. I'm very privileged and I'm very honored that you have selected me to represent you over all of these years. And I am committed to continue to represent you. I am committed to continuing that Park Forest remains a place that we all want to live in, that we continue to sustain financial integrity and aggressive economic development, that we continue to really develop strategic plans and implement them so that our village continues to move forward in the future. Our infrastructure, yes, it is an issue, and that is an issue that we will continue. But most of all, I want you to gather with me to help make Park Forest an even better place that we want to live in. As I say, a place to live, grow, and discover. I have done that, and I want you to be a part of that and take that journey with me. So I look for your support on April the 7th, 2015. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Brandon. That was candidate May Brandon. Ms. O'Neill.
Thank you again, the Nonpartisan Committee and the League of Women Voters. My closing comments focus on what I bring to the table as a continuing trustee. For many years, my main career objective was to provide area businesses with tools for growth. My focus areas were mainly on business retention and regionalism. Here is how I intend to work within those focus areas. I will keep apprised of Park Forest business needs and issues by supporting and attending Park Forest business events, as well as other regional business events, and to make use of my developed relationships with area economic development groups to assist Park Forest. I am active with the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce, the Madison Business Association, and the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association. The other day, I was invited and attended a planning session sponsored by the Madison Business Association and had the opportunity to make comments at the start of the event. I stated that if I had to choose a platform on which to run, it would be business retention and regionalism. Martin Luther King Jr. said that either we work together as brothers or sisters or we will perish together as fools. I can tell you that I have witnessed over the years how Park Forest has been a role model in regional efforts. In regard to business retention, I'll continue to coordinate with the Park Forest Economic Development Advisory Group. I've been trustee liaison with that group throughout most of my 8 years as trustee. I'm excited about the future of Park Forest, and I want to not only be involved but assist in the efforts. Again, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I've served this village for nearly 45 years, and with your support and your vote, I'll work hard for you and continue to serve Park Forest. So please do remember to vote for Georgia O'Neill on April 7th.
Thank you. That was candidate Georgia O'Neill. Ms. Graham.
Well, first, I'd like to thank everybody who's here and has spent the last 2.5 hours with us. Thank you. And thank you for all your questions. The questions that we didn't get answered today, I'm pretty sure that we can have those questions, and by next forum, we should be able to have answers for you if your question did not get answered today. And in closing, my desire is to give back to the community by being a positive influence in the lives of young people in our community. One never knows how a single act of kindness or guidance may impact someone for the rest of their lives. Positive attitudes and actions are contagious as well as the alternative. I can't make a promise to resolve all of the issues that we are facing in Park Forest. However, I would like the opportunity to work with the leadership of Park Forest to bring much-needed business opportunities to the village, as well as work towards solving some of our housing issues, such as vacant and deteriorating homes. I'm asking you to give me an opportunity to build a new Park Forest. So, in closing, vote for me on April 7th.
Thank you very much. I would like, on behalf of the Nonpartisan Commission and the League of Women Voters, to thank our candidates, all of them, and our audience for your cooperation and your patience and your excellent questions and excellent answers. Please do not forget to vote on April 7th. say cutting people off? I do.
You did fine. You did it well.
The ones that were not asked, either personal attacks.
Thank you. That's you.